the camp director here at Friendly Pines. I have a couple helpers here with me today. I've got Adam, our assistant director, behind this computer screen, and also our brand new program director, Eldon. So they're going to be helping me run the program tonight. So just to give you kind of a brief overview, we are going to start off just going through like a brief kind of common FAQ burning questions presentation. So these are questions that we get asked very, very frequently. So we kind of just do a general overview of these questions. And then throughout the presentation tonight, we're actually going to be doing some drawings for some Friendly Pines merch. So everybody that RSVP'd, we have put your campers' names into like a little name picker, and we'll be doing 3 drawings throughout the evening. And so we'll be mailing out the merch to those winners after like later this week or next week. So there is a chat function in the live. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them out. We will save those for the very end. We'll do the burning questions presentation, and then we'll save the Q&A for the very end. But we can read those questions live, and we'll happily answer those at the very end of the presentation. So first things first, we are going to have Adam give an enrollment update. So he's going to let you know kind of where we are with enrollment numbers and session availability. So.
Hey, yeah, give me just a moment here, sorry.
He's also managing all of the, technical behind the scenes stuff. So he's a man of many, many trades.
Would we be able to come back to that? I'm sorry.
We can totally come back to that. Can we do a drawing right now?
For sure.
All right, we're going to kick things off. We're going to do a drawing. So we're going to have Eldon do the drawings tonight. So for the first one, the winner can choose between a beanie or a very famous Friendly Pines dad hat. So Eldon, do you want to take it away with picking a name?
All right.
Let me just double check we are where we need to be.
Yep.
Here we go. There we are.
Here we go. Let's give that wheel a spin. Ooh, all right. Georgia Cloudy.
Georgia Cloudy.
Georgia Cloudy.
Awesome. All right, Georgia. So if you heard your name called, reach out to us so we know where to send your merch, and then you get to pick. So you can have a dad hat or a fun fleece beanie. So so that's our first drawing. So burning questions. So like I said, these are our kind of FAQ, very frequently asked questions. Obviously, we've been doing this for a really long time. We are going to be celebrating our 83rd summer in 2024. So we've been asked pretty much every question. And so we've kind of collected like the ones that we get asked very frequently into this presentation. So we've kind of come up with different topics, and then there's different questions within those topics. So first thing, what should I bring to camp? So before camp in the spring, we will send out lots of different paperwork and forms and everything like that. But in one of those mailings, emailings, we will actually send out a whole packing guide. So within that, it'll give you everything you need to know about what to pack and how many things to pack and dress code and all that kind of stuff. So one thing that you will need to make sure you bring is a sleeping bag. So for everybody that's coming to like session 1, 2, or 3, or the Pioneer, Explorer, or Trail Seeker sessions, those sessions will actually go out on like an overnight camp out. And so the sleeping bag will be really important for that. We sleep outside on Wednesday nights. But then in the cabin, they're really nice, and making your bed is a lot easier with a sleeping bag. That said, if you would like to bring sheets and a comforter to put on your bed, you're welcome to do that and just leave the sleeping bag for the overnight. Totally fine, but you definitely still need to at least bring a sleeping bag. Labeling clothes and belongings is really, really important. Things get lost. It's very natural. So anything that you would like to see your camper bring home, we encourage you to label. So obviously clothes and everything like that, but water bottles, shoes, sunglasses, anything like that. If you would like it to come home, make sure you label it, and make sure it's like a durable, whether it's a Sharpie or some sort of label, just make sure you label everything. Later in the summer, kind of mid-July time. That's when our monsoon season actually starts. We do get rain up here, but it's usually not until the mid to end of July that we'll start seeing big rainstorms. So still important to make sure that you bring rain, a raincoat or a poncho or whatever, regardless of what time you come, because we could get rain at any time. It just tends to come later in the summer when the monsoons come. So, and then our evenings, the temperature usually gets into like I would say the 60s. So it's not super cold, but if you're coming from like Phoenix or Tucson or something, like it will probably be pretty cold to you. So having like a sweatshirt or jacket will be good, and really good for like the overnight when you're sleeping outside. Any gear for activities, we pretty much have everything, or we have everything you would need to do the activities at camp. The only time you would want to bring anything extra for activities is if you're maybe more advanced, or if you have like your own certain special piece of equipment. So if you play tennis at home and you have like your lucky tennis racket, you're welcome to bring that. That said, we would recommend leaving anything at home that's super expensive, super valuable, super important. We just don't want things to get lost or broken or misplaced or anything like that. So, you don't have to bring riding boots, or definitely don't go out and just buy riding boots for camp. We have plenty of loaners. We have riding helmets. The only thing you would need specifically for horse activities would be like long pants for riding, but we have everything else that you would need for activities. And then on the next page is just like a little screenshot of kind of a preview of what the packing guide looks like. So we have some multiple pages. These are just a couple, but like great things to bring to camp, things you should leave at home. And then on the next page, we have our packing list from this past summer. So this is very similar to what you'll see. And so every camper needs to have their own packing list completed. So basically you will, as the parent, will pack them and fill out the packing list and put it in their luggage. When they get to camp, their counselors unpack them and fill out the second column. Excuse me. And then on the last day, or the day before they go home, the counselors will repack everything. So that's how we kind of keep track of how many pairs of shorts someone brought or how many pairs of shoes they brought, and then trying to match that number when they go home. All right, and then for our counselors, so we are really fortunate to have really, really amazing counselors, lots of young people from all over the world, really. I would say most of our counselors are local Arizonans. A lot of our counselors are former campers, actually, and they were Friendly Pines campers, and then they're finally old enough to be a counselor. But we also have counselors that come from out of state. Usually it's like a Google search or something, or a lot of times just word of mouth. And then we also have internationals. So I'm really excited. We actually have already 11 internationals hired for next summer, which is really exciting. And we're getting back to kind of our pre-COVID pandemic time numbers with our ratio of international staff. So, so we've got, counselors from Ireland and Scotland, a couple from Germany. I just talked to someone from South Africa today. So it's just really cool that we have these internationals, but also still heavily predominant with domestic staff as well. Our counselors do, it's a pretty rigorous application process and onboarding and training. They'll do like training videos even before they come here. And then we have an entire week of what we call Staff Development Week, and that's where we teach them all how to be a counselor at Friendly Pines and how to manage their cabin and, be safe and supervision skills and everything like that. So all of our staff, not just the counselors, but all of our staff every year receive a full background check, criminal background check. And that also checks like the national sex offender list and everything. And so all staff, even myself, I've been here for many, many years. I get a background check every single year. And then all of our staff also have a drug test upon arrival at camp. And then we do random drug tests throughout the summer as well. All of our cabins have at least one counselor that live in the cabin. They sleep in the cabin. They're with the cabin all the time. Some of our cabins might have two counselors, but every cabin that we have has at least one counselor that lives in the cabin. And then things that we look for in our staff, first and foremost, just a desire to work with kids and be outdoors and, teach young people and, inspire young people. Also, to some extent, activity skills, because our cabin counselors also teach our activities. So having some skills in the different activities that we offer is also important. So As far as medical stuff, this is a really important area. So allergies. So as a part of your kind of on like your paperwork in the lead up to camp, there will be several medical forms and things that you'll need to fill out. And your health history is like an online form that you as the parent will fill out. And that's where you can list any sort of allergies for your camper, whether that's food allergies or just like regular allergies, medication allergies, all that kind of stuff is reported on the health history in the spring. We have a team of medical staff for each week of the summer. So we have at least 3 medical staff on site for each week of that the campers are here. And they are the ones that actually administer the medications. So if your camper takes regular meds, maybe they take morning meds or night meds or both, or maybe even like random times throughout the day, you'll include all that information on your medical forms. And then our nurses, doctors, PAs, those folks will actually administer the medication. So they keep them locked up. The kids don't administer their own meds. The medical staff will give out the meds and keep a log of all the meds. There's kind of 2 different forms. So the health history, like I mentioned, that's going to be filled out by the family and it's online. And then the physical exam form is a like actual physical piece of paper that you'll take to your child's pediatrician or to a walk-in clinic to be seen by a medical professional. So health history is done by parents. Physical exam is done by a licensed medical professional. We, keep a log of everything that a camper might come into the infirmary for, whether it's a bruise, a scraped knee or bruise or a bee sting or a headache or a cough. We keep track of all that. For the minor stuff, we just keep a log of it. If you're curious, you're welcome to call camp and talk to the med staff and see if your child's visited the infirmary. The only time that we would call parents is if they need to spend the night in the infirmary, if they have to go into like the urgent care or be seen at the hospital or any sort of major stuff. If we have to ever call like an ambulance or administer like an EpiPen or anything like that, anything kind of a major incident, we would call parents in that case. But like for, I need an ice pack for my hangnail on my finger, we're not going to call parents for that. But you're still welcome to call and see how your kid is doing, or maybe they're finishing up antibiotics and you want to just talk to the med staff. Our med staff are available to chat with you about that. And then our med staff, in addition to the meds, they also administer like the basic first aid. We're only a couple 100 yards down the road from Groom Creek Fire Department, so they're kind of our first responders. And then we're about a 20-minute drive from town, the town of Prescott, where there's a hospital and urgent care and everything. So on the next page, it shows what the physical exam form looks like. So that's that one that the licensed medical professional will fill out. So that's the one that you'll print out, give it to them, they fill it out, and then you upload that. And then on the following page, this kind of shows your dashboard for your registration. And later on in the spring, a link will become available for you as the parent to fill out the online camper health history. All right, time to do another drawing. Are we ready?
Enrollment update.
Oh, we're going to do the enrollment update and then another drawing. All right.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to kind of just go through all of the sessions here because we don't have that much availability left across the whole summer. So for Adventure Camp, May 26th through June 1st, we have 1 female space left. For Session 1, June 2nd through June 15th. We've got 1 male space left. For Session 2, June 16 through June 29, we've got 6 male spaces and 5 female spaces left. For Session 3, June 30 through July 13, we're waitlisting all sessions. For Pioneer A, June 2nd through June 8th, we have 5 male spaces left. For Pioneer B, June 9th through June 15th, we're waitlisting all sessions. For Explorer A, June 16th through June 22nd, we have 6 male spaces left. For Explorer B, June 23rd through June 29th, we have 12 male spaces left. For Trail Seeker A, June 30th through July 6th, we're about halfway full for boys and halfway full for girls. And for Trail Seeker B, July 7th through July 13th, we have 1 female space left. and that's it for the summer.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you are joining us and you haven't registered for camp, I would definitely, get that done soon. I definitely expect us to be full early in the new year. So if you're at all interested, definitely worth it to get your kids signed up for camp. So awesome. So now we're going to do the second drawing. So for this one, it's going to be a fancy Sport Tech shirt. So we have different sizes, so if you're the winner, you don't have to have an adult large, but we have this fun, athletic material shirt. So who has won our second drawing, Eldon?
Well, let's see. Let's give the wheel a spin. Here we go. Little drum roll at home. Oh. Abigail Weeks.
Abigail Weeks.
Congratulations. Abigail Weeks.
So be sure to reach out to us so you can get the right size for the Sport Tech shirt. So awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump back into the burning questions. Just want to re-emphasize, if you have any questions, we do have a live chat going on, so feel free to post your questions there, and we'll save those questions and answers for the very end. But we are going to now talk about our food. So we are really fortunate to have a really talented, experienced kitchen staff. And I know I'm biased, but our food is very, very good and very highly complimented. We serve 3 hot meals a day, and we do 2 snacks as well. So breakfast, a morning snack, lunch, a PM snack, and then dinner. And we serve family style. So rather than cafeteria style where you kind of, push your plate through and you put stuff on your plate, the counselors actually serve the food to the table of campers. And so all the food is on the table, lots of different sides and lots of different variety. We do Italian, we do Asian, we do Mexican, we'll have pizza for lunch one day, lots of different varieties. And, there's a lot of things to choose from, and it's pretty hard to go hungry. So kind of takes me to my next topic, picky eaters. We get that all the time where someone is a picky eater, and that's totally fine. We really try to make mealtime not like a battleground. So we're not going to force kids to eat their vegetables, or you can't get up until you finish this food on your plate or anything like that. Let the kids really choose what they would like to eat. But the counselors keep track, all right, you've only had a piece of bread for dinner, 2 nights in a row. I'm going to have a conversation with you or with your counselor and just monitor that. But we have never heard of anybody not coming back to camp because they couldn't find anything that they liked to eat. So, and a lot of times kids will try new things at camp, and turns out, oh, I do love salad, or I tried green beans for the first time and I actually really like them, or I've never tried, mashed potatoes, something like that. And they'll try it at camp and they love it, and then they want it at home. And so it kind of, the opportunity for food adventure is very doable here. If your camper has any special dietary needs, so if they're a vegetarian, if they have to eat gluten-free, if they can't have any dairy, or if they're allergic to something, specific, pineapple or paprika or whatever, if they're allergic to anything, have any special dietary restrictions or food allergies or anything like that, that is information that you'll provide on that health history form. And so you do that, and then we share that with the kitchen so they're ready for that. And excuse me, if there's something on the table that they can't have, the kitchen makes a special additional alternative menu item. So if we have, say it's breakfast and we're having eggs and bacon, they could have eggs, but if they're a vegetarian, they can go up and get a veggie sausage, so they can supplement with whatever they need to accommodate their special dietary need. And then on the next page, this is just a kind of a example of what the different menus for the day would look like. So it would show the main dish and what we serve to drink with it, and then what the snack for that morning or that afternoon would be. All right. Adjusting to camp, and just getting used to camp. And it's, for a first-time camper, it can be really scary, but the counselors and all of our staff are here to make that adjustment as smooth as possible. We spend a lot of time in staff training talking about dealing with homesickness and how to include everybody. So if you're kind of questioning, should I send my camper by themselves or should I try and get them to come with a friend? I want to tell you that most kids come to camp without knowing anybody. So don't feel like you have to find someone to go to camp with your camper. If you would like to, that's totally fine. We do allow cabin requests as long as they're in the same type of session. So both 2-weekers or both 1-weekers. But most kids will come to camp without knowing anybody. And then that's the beauty of camp. They get to make friends once they get here. So bullying is another topic that we cover in staff training, and, different signs to see, like the blatant out there, very obvious signs, and then the subtle signs as well. Another thing that we do is everybody, staff and campers, all sign what we call our HERO agreement. So we have our HERO program. It stands for honoring everyone, respecting ourselves, and it's just like a kind of our camp code of conduct, if you will. So everybody signs a HERO contract saying they're going to be a good camp citizen, and then we also have like a session on the very first morning of camp talking about how to be good camp citizens and, being friendly and being nice to everybody and treating everybody with respect. Missing home happens. Everybody has an adjustment period when they come to camp, whether that is 2 hours or, maybe it's 2 minutes. Maybe they're already adjusted before you've even left the parking lot. It might be a couple hours. It might be a couple days. So everybody has an adjustment period, and all of our staff are trained on ways to handle different levels of homesickness and stuff. It's really pretty rare for someone to not adjust to camp and get into the rhythm of things. We always we try and like warn parents, the mail is a little bit delayed, so it takes like at least 2 days to get mail. So if you get a letter on Wednesday saying, I hate camp, I miss you, I want to come home, whatever, chances are like 99.9999% of the time that is not the case anymore. They've totally adjusted. They're fine. Once they get into their activities and kind of get into the regular schedule, most if not all homesickness usually goes away. So, we will keep parents updated if there's like a special situation or if they're particularly having a particularly hard time adjusting. We'll let parents know, but for the most part, everyone adjusts just fine. One thing though to keep in mind is that we do not allow phone calls home. So that might be a little bit shocking, or it might be a little bit hard to, understand or accept. But that's something that we really a philosophy that we really stick by. Most of the time, if they call home, it's just going to make things worse. Hearing parents' voice, it's going to make things worse. The growth and the resiliency that comes from being at camp comes from like that independence and learning to, handle your emotions and handle things on your own. So, if you want your camper to get the most out of camp, that we say they can't call home because they're sad. So, what age is the best to start at camp? So it's up to you. It's if you find out about camp and you're 14, come on to camp. Like, that's totally fine. They can be as young as 6 years old, even if they're like a mature 5-year-old, almost going to be turning 6 soon. We do accept those. There's not really a best age to start camp. It's really like whenever you want to start camp. So, yeah. And then when do we send home? We very rarely will send someone home. The only time that we would is if they are negatively maybe impacting the rest of the cabin or other campers, like if they're making others feel unsafe. And, we've tried working things out and we just can't get through. But like I said, it's very, very, very rare that we would send someone home. And usually we will, like, you as a parent would know before we had to make that decision. So it's not to say that it would never happen, but it's very, very rare that it would happen that we would need to send somebody home. Okay, as far as activities go, so our campers get to choose their own activities. So in the lead up to camp, usually like 2 weeks to a week before they come, you will all be emailed a like Google form that you'll fill out. And basically the campers will kind of like rank their preferences, so like their top choices for activities. And then our program staff will take those preferences and put them into the computer, and the computer makes like an individualized schedule for each camper. So each camper has their own personal schedule that they follow for the time that they're here. So yeah, there's not really any restrictions. The only restrictions kind of come into play when there's like an age restriction. So I would say probably 95% of our activities are all ages. They're all mixed. So you could have a 6-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl all in the same activity. But a handful of our activities are ages 6 to 9, and then another handful of our activities are ages 10 and up. Stuff like archery and riflery, stuff that has like bigger pieces of equipment, more technical difficulties. That's going to be where we have like an age restriction. But for the most part, there's not really any restrictions. Most campers are beginners. So our counselors, when they're designing their lesson plans for their activities, they will kind of do like a baseline beginner level for everybody. But some activities do offer a more advanced class. And so for campers that are here for 2 weeks, they can actually go to what we call placements, and it's like tryouts. And so they can show their skills and maybe be placed into a higher level of class and be with other kids that are at a similar level. So like if they have their own horse at home and they ride their horse every single day, they're going to want to try out for, an advanced Western riding or an advanced English riding class. If they've never seen a horse before, they do not need to try out. The beginner class will be totally fine for them. So, as parents, how do you make sure that the camper takes the activities that you want them to take? Unfortunately, the kind of answer to that is that you don't get to do that. So we really, really stick by it's camper's choice. The camper gets to decide for themselves. We like to give the campers as much autonomy as possible. So it's very, very possible that you could, fill out their preference form either with or with them before they come to camp. And then we do allow schedule changes, and they could switch out of some activity that you really wanted them to do. Like I said, we give the autonomy to the camper and let them decide what they would like to do with their schedule. And then I mentioned it before, but do they need any special equipment? They don't. It's only if you want to send, riding boots or something like that, if you want to. So, questions as parents. So, maybe your camper is totally fine going away for a week or 2 weeks, but sometimes the mom and dad aren't quite ready for, their child to go away to camp. So, just know that you are not alone. So what we do for the first 3 days of a session, and then every other day after that, we have something called a morning report. And it's basically almost kind of like a report card for like the health and wellness of the cabin. So each camper gets like different letter grades, and their counselors write little comments on how they're doing. So you can call the camp office and like get a report card reading of how your camper is doing. So that's how you can kind of check in and see like how they're doing, how their health is, how their sleep is, how their eating habits are, how they're adjusting to camp, all that kind of stuff. So you still can have like a taste of their experience. And then also we try and post photographs on our website every single day. We have a really great photography team, and they do their best to get as much of a wide range of population as possible. They can't guarantee every single day you'd have a new photo of your camper, but those camper photos help out a lot, kind of seeing your camper and knowing that they're there and safe and everything. So some of our sessions do have wait lists, and then as we get closer, we'll have wait lists. There's not really a way of telling how likely you'd get off a wait list. I would say being on the front side of a cancellation deadline is more likely. So our first one is coming up in March, and then the main final deadline is in May. So if you're trying to send your camper to camp, being on a wait list before March 1st or May 1st is more likely, but it's still not guaranteed. Basically, we just call or contact whoever's next on the wait list and see if they want the spot. And then, sometimes we'll move, through 4 or 5 people, and the 6th person gets to come just because everybody else on the list had made other plans. But there's not really a way to tell how likely you'd be come off the wait list. So, can they call home to make sure I'm okay? Same kind of principle. No phone calls. We don't allow any electronics. So if they want to contact you, they can send a letter to you. If you would like to contact them, you can send a letter to them. But as the parent, you also have the added bonus of sending an email, and then our post office staff will print it out, put it in the mail, and they can read the email. They obviously can't email you back, but they can write a letter back to you. Family camp is something that's really fun. So that is something that we hold at the very end of July, kind of first week of August. And it's like a 2-night stay where the families get to come up, or whoever wants to come up, and they stay as like a family friend unit in their own cabin. And so that's where like mom and dad get to go for a horseback ride or ride the zip line and see the activities. So we get a lot of families that will come, and they'll come to family camp. Maybe they'll come to family camp this summer, and because they want to enroll for summer 2025.
Um, are we hiring for next summer, and specifically counselor or horse programs?
Yeah, great question. That's our next slide actually is our call for staff. Maybe go to that one. The next slide. So this is so we've actually just today released, like today, Thursday the 16th, released the new and returning counselor applications. So we are, I have already started hiring some internationals, but like the full application is ready to go for anybody that is interested in working as a counselor. So it is a very, very fun, very rewarding, very, it's a great job for making an impact and stuff. It's a great way to save a lot of money. So, our counselors are very, very well paid, but they also get like room and board included and stuff like that. So if anyone's looking for a summer job, being a camp counselor is a really, really great one. It's, really, really like lots of friendships and memories and personal growth and everything like that can be had by being a counselor here. So we have lots of different positions available. We're still pretty early days in the hiring process, but I am really, really trying to get fully hired by like March of next year. So I'm sure we'll still have positions to fill, but if you're at all interested, the earlier you apply, the better. And spreading the word, if you have any neighbors that are over 18 and have been out of college, or have been out of high school for at least a year. If you have any relatives, if any of your other children are old enough, it's a really, really great job to be and to have. So so we're hiring regular counselors, and then we also are hiring horse staff who are essentially regular counselors, but they just don't live in a cabin with the campers, but they run all the horse activities and everything like that. So they still cover cabins and are incorporated into the mesh of camp life and everything like that. But yeah, we have those different positions as well. And then we also have some like potential medical staff. If you are a nurse or a doctor or PA or something like that, we at least an RN or higher certification. We do hire medical staff and offer camperships with that. So if you know of anybody, if you yourself are like that, or of anybody that has some sort of professional medical certification, would definitely love to hear from you and talk about that. And then just other general positions, housekeeping staff, operations, kind of more of like the behind the scenes stuff we also hire for. So that's not usually for counselors. That's typically college age kids. 18 to 24 is the typical age range. We have a counselor coming this year who's going to be like 25. There's not really an age limit, but it tends to be kind of college age that the counselors are. But all the other positions, there's not really any sort of age restriction as long as they're at least 18 and have been out of high school for a year. So all of our information about staff is on our website, and we have like a really handy kind of hiring and employment guide that goes really into detail about all the different positions and perks of being a staff member at camp. So, all right.
I'm so sorry, your mic was also off for the mega pack question.
Okay, for the mega pack question.
Yeah, so if you wanted to
yes.
Go over
So first question that we had was about there was a mega pack. Do we still sell that? So the mega pack is just a duffel bag that we have with like our FPC branding on it. We do still sell that. It's a really great option for campers because they can fit pretty much everything from the packing guide into the duffel bag, into the mega pack, and then once they unpack and put it on their shelves, they can fold up the bag and put it under their bunk bed. And then we have an online camp store. So if you go to our website, at the very top, there's a bunch of little icons. There's like a little shopping cart. That's the camp store. But then also the different tabs, like current and future families, have the FPC store link on there as well. So you can order things online. So the mega pack and other Friendly Pines merch.
What if you don't like anything on the table for food?
Great question. If you don't like anything on the table for food, what we have on the table is the meal. So usually there's something on the table that folks can find. If it happens to be 2 slices of bread, okay, we'll try again at the next meal. But we don't do like, I'm not really a fan of Italian food, so I'm going to go get like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We don't do any of that. What we have on the table is what the meal is. If you don't want what's on the table, then, just make sure you know what the next meal is going to be. So if it's dinner, you're not going to be eating again until breakfast. If it's breakfast, you'll have snack, and then lunch will be the next meal. So, it's pretty hard for kids to not find something on the table that they will like to eat. It's pretty rare.
My kids get nervous about not knowing the songs.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can get a copy of the songs so that we can learn them or be familiar with them? They got a copy when they were a long time ago, but it was thrown out in the 90s from Sarah Bear.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's definitely something we've been discussing, is like, how do we teach songs and implement songs a lot more. We do have a song book. It's like a physical copy. Probably needs like a revamping. That's one of our like winter projects. We'll see if we get to it for this winter. But I think practicing in the cabin. I remember when I was a camper, I used to always like sing the different songs in the cabin and like ask the counselor like, what's the next lyric? What's the next part of the song? So just promoting that and singing in the cabin, and then singing when we're out in the rest of camp and everything. But yeah, I don't think I necessarily have a specific answer for you, but it is like on our radar, and it's a great question. It's something that is important because camp songs are a really, really fun part of camp. And so I guess we're thinking about it. We're working on it. Don't exactly have an answer for you right now.
Yeah, kind of hoping to get a resource available for the future.
The plan is to have some sort of resource. We just don't have the resource quite yet.
From Eleni, can we apply to be just a cabin counselor without teaching an activity at camp?
Great question. Unfortunately, no. Just because we really have a pretty strict structure with how our staff operate and their daily schedule and everything like that. So our counselors do both. So they, we hire for different departments. So we have like an adventure or a challenge department, equestrian, target sports, waterfront. There's multiple different departments. And so when they're not with their cabin and it's activity time, the counselors will go and teach the activities. So we unfortunately don't have the option of just being a cabin counselor at this time. The way our staff day and structure is that they do both.
From Sarah Bear, what skills do kids need to show for swimming?
Good question. Yeah.
I might take that one. So our campers, on the very first day of camp, they will do a swim test at our camp pool. Whether they've signed up for swimming activities or not, we would ask them to do the swim test. If they opt out of the swim test, that just means that they are not going to be able to do any swimming activities here at camp. The swim test is swimming from one side of the pool to the other side of the pool. It's about 60 feet or so without touching the sides or the bottom, and they need to be able to tread water, swim in place for about 30 seconds, and they also need to be able to climb up out of the edge of the pool unassisted. So that's the full swim test.
Yeah. So if they don't pass the swim test, that just means they don't get to participate in anything waterfront. A lot of kids don't even sign up for waterfront, but if they have free swim or canoeing on their activity preference list, we just take that off if they don't pass the swim test. But yeah, everybody does it regardless of if they've signed up for it, unless they would like to opt out.
From Paula, If they have a friend in the 2-week camp, but he is only in the 1-week camp, will they be doing any activities together?
There's definitely a possibility that they would do the same activities. There are a couple different activities that are separated into 1-weeker versus 2-weeker classes. Basically anything that has like a very extensive like safety orientation, safety briefing. So like a lot of like the equestrian activities, excuse me, target sports, those are kind of the main ones. Something that if, half the group left and came, and then a whole new part of the group came in halfway through, it would take a significant amount of time to like explain the rules and explain the safety demonstrations and stuff. Those activities would be separated, but most activities are intermixed with 1-weekers and 2-weekers. So we don't guarantee, excuse me, activity like requests to be together. We don't like make schedules the same for kids, or that like if they want to be with their friend, but there is a very, very high probability that they would be in a couple activities together depending on what they signed up for. And then beyond that, meal times, free time, in between activities, like it's pretty much impossible to even go half a day without seeing somebody, like if you're siblings or something like that, older sister wants to see younger brother, very, very hard to not see each other throughout the day.
Would you be able to elaborate, from Colleen, would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on the horse program?
Yeah.
She has 2 campers with experience and love for horses who are 8 and 10 and will want to participate.
Great question. Yeah. So we actually started as a horse camp. So horses are a really, really big part of our program still. We actually have 5 activities for equestrian activities. So Western riding is going to be our most popular. That is like the more relaxed. It's got the horn on the saddle, and they do a little bit of arena work, but they mostly go out on trail rides out in the Prescott National Forest. English is another really popular one. That's going to be mostly just arena work. It's the smaller saddle, more technical, just like more arena work. Vaulting is a really fun activity. So that's gymnastics on horseback. So they learn how to stand up on a horse and how to do different tricks and stuff on the back of a horse. And then pony carts. So we have a handful of like miniature horses, and the kids will like hitch up the horses and like drive them around in the carts. And then the last activity we have is called ranch hands. There's no riding involved in that one. It's just like equine education, like learning about horses, how to care for horses, how to feed them, that kind of thing. So for Western, English, and vaulting, if your campers are coming for at least a 2-week session, if they're staying for longer, they can, this still applies. But if they're coming for a 2-week session, they would be allowed to try out for like an advanced Western or intermediate English writing or advanced vaulting. And so the counselors will like group the kids together that have similar abilities. So, maybe 4 or 5 most advanced campers will be in like the advanced Western class. And then people that have a little bit of experience, they've ridden before, but they're not maybe comfortable like doing some of the more advanced skills, they would be in like in the intermediate class. For the 1-weekers, if they're coming as a 1-weeker, they're unfortunately just a part of just regular Western riding for 1-weekers. Like I said before, it's one of those activities that it's just like very hard to get everyone up to speed when they're coming in halfway or leaving halfway through the session. So if they're 2-weekers, they can try out for those activities. But if they're 1-weekers, then they would just be put into regular Western English vaulting.
From Janelle, when will the family dates come open?
So we always focus a little bit on just regular camp for the fall, and then in the new year we announce what the dates and rates and stuff for family camp will be. So if you're not on our email list, then definitely sign up if you're interested. Not just in family camp, but in anything with camp. But we'll send out an email blast sometime probably in January. I don't know exactly the date yet, but it'll be in 2024 for family camp at the end of the summer. So, but yeah, as of right now, like you can plan on it being around the end of July through August. So, or the first weekend of August.
From Sarah Bear, do you still do the Indian campfire night? Still near the end of the session. It was very fun memory seeing the horses painted and a bonding time as a camper.
Yeah, so we do, essentially the same ceremony, but we call it rendezvous now. And it's like the same kind of recognition ceremony, one of our more kind of serious traditions and a major tradition at Friendly Pines. But the counselors will recognize the campers for good deeds, good things they saw them do throughout the week, overcoming adversity and, personal growth and stuff like that. But it's like pioneer, mountain man, Wild West themed instead of Native American themed now. So if you have experienced that one and you saw Rendezvous, you'd see it'd be almost identical, but it's just rethemed a little bit. We did that, almost like 10 years ago now. So same ceremony, just different name. But yes, we still technically do it.
From Janelle, so do the kids get their personalized schedule every day?
Good question. So they will have the same 8 activity slots on their schedule. So they do 4 periods on one day, 4 periods on the next day, and then they go back to those activities every other day for the time that they're there. So most activities are just an hour long, but some activities are 2 hours. They might do first and second period with challenge, and then third period Western, fourth period sports. And then they do that Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or green days, they would go to those same activities. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays would be a different 4 or fewer activities. So they get their schedule on the first morning that they arrive at camp. So they arrive in the afternoon, they spend the night, and then that next morning they get their schedule. And then they use that schedule for the week or 2 weeks that they're here.
What about Adventure Camp?
Adventure Camp is a little bit different. Adventure Camp is that very first week, it's tacked on to like Memorial Day. That one, they have 5 activity periods in a day, and they do the same 5 activities every single day. So they don't go every other day, but they do the same 5 every day that they're there. So that's that first week. But then the 2-week sessions and then the Pioneer, Explorer, and Trail Seeker sessions have the every other day model.
And from Colleen, when do we sign up for activities?
Good question. Yeah, so we will email everybody that's enrolled. It's like 14 days before their session, right? Usually it's at most 14 days, but it might be 10 or 7. I think it's 14.
I think it's 2 weeks before the session begins.
But you'll get an email with the Google form link in your email 2 weeks before they come to camp, and then just filling that out before they arrive. But if you don't get to it before they arrive, our staff bring them into the office and fill it out with them. So, but our preference is that you fill it out before.
Eleni is saying, I don't see counselor positions available for next summer on the website.
Yeah, I haven't updated the job openings page of the website, but we are actively hiring counselors. So, I haven't updated that. I usually will update that more as we get as we fill spaces, so that people can I really am only great at sports or something like that, and you can see we don't really have any sports positions available. So that's not to say that you couldn't still apply as a sports counselor or performance or challenge or whatever. Just because it says that we're full on the website doesn't mean we still wouldn't want to talk to you, because maybe we could have you do something else, or maybe we suddenly have a position available. So for right now it's pretty wide open. There's nothing full. So if you're interested in applying, like I said, applying early so that you can kind of try and get the activity department that you really want.
From Kylie, do you still do arts and crafts there?
We do. We call it handcrafts. So handcrafts is the same thing as arts and crafts, but that is one of our activities within the arts department. So handcrafts, drawing and painting, and sewing are within the arts department.
From Sarah, what ages are the cabins? So I think what ages go to camp?
Yeah, so our campers are anywhere from 6 to 14 years old, and then we house the campers by kind of age and grade group. So the youngest cabin's going to have 5 and 6-year-olds. Somewhere in the middle is going to have 9 and 10-year-olds, and then the oldest cabins are going to be 14-year-olds, maybe a couple 13-year-olds that are almost 14. If you would like your camper to be with another camper, we take the older of the two in a request and move them down. So like say it's two brothers and the older brother is 13 and the younger brother is 10. If you would like them to be together, the 13-year-old would be moved down to be with other 10-year-olds. So sometimes the like being togetherness is like not as important if there's that kind of big of an age group. But if it's like cousins and they're, one's just turned 12 and the other one's like gonna turn 12 after camp and they're both in the same grade, that's very manageable and like a very easy request to satisfy. So but yeah, they're kind of, if you don't have any requests, it's just by like kind of, we take the 8 oldest campers and that's in the oldest cabin, then the next 8 oldest are in the second to oldest cabin, and kind of work our way that way. So for the most part, it's similar age, grade, that kind of thing.
From Jello, is Ajax the horse still there?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if Ajax will be coming back. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was here this past summer. It kind of sounds like a familiar name for a horse, but we lease our horses from a outfit down in like Apache Junction. So haven't established which horses are coming back for next summer, but hopefully maybe Ajax will be back, but I don't know yet.
From Janelle, how many kids in a cabin, and are the cabins air conditioned?
Great.
And what are the bathrooms like?
Yeah. So all of our cabins have a bathroom, like a toilet, shower, and sink inside the cabin. So there's not like there. We have like an external bathhouse for some of the cabins, like as an extra. But every cabin has it inside. So if they like multiple people want to shower at the same time before bed or something, they can go to the bathhouse. But for the most part, just staying in the cabin works most of the time. So our younger cabins have anywhere from like 4 to 6 campers, and then oldest cabins will have up to 8 campers in a cabin. So max cabin sizes would be 10 people with 2 counselors and 8 campers, and that would be for like ages like 11 and older. Usually see those. But if your camper's 6 years old, there's probably only gonna be like 3 other kids in their cabin, maybe 5 other kids. So and then we don't have air conditioning in the cabins. We do have fans, and then the windows open, and that is usually pretty good. So
I guess kind of with that being said, maybe speak to the weather here.
Yeah. So our days are warm. It is Arizona. It's summer. Usually we see like upper 80s, maybe low 90s on especially hot days. And then in the evenings, it's maybe in like the 60s. So having a jacket, like I mentioned before, is important, but shorts and t-shirts are equally important for the daytime. And some rain kind of mid to late summer, but rain could happen at any point in the summer. But most of our days are nice and sunny and warm and clear skies and really, really nice weather. So if you're coming from Phoenix or Tucson, it is not like that kind of heat, but we are warmer than somewhere like Flagstaff. Just lower elevation than Flagstaff. So we're about 6,300 feet here in the mountains. There's pine trees all around, and obviously friendly pines. And but great place to be in the summer for sure.
From Sarah, are kids with disabilities allowed to go to camp, or are there any restrictions?
Great question. Yeah. So basically, kind of our standard is that all of our campers have to be able to function and move around on their own. If they use a wheelchair, it's probably not the best facility for that. We only have a couple cabins that are technically like ADA, built for ADA standards. It's a as I mentioned before, it's our 83rd summer. We've been around for a long time. So back in the 40s, they weren't really, thinking about this. So a lot of our buildings aren't super capable for that. As far as kind of, other disabilities and accommodations and stuff, if you want to, you can like reach out to us and we can have a specific discussion, because every camper is a little bit different, and like what if they do have some disabilities or need certain accommodations. We like to we don't want to have like a baseline procedure or guideline for that. It's definitely kind of like a case by case basis. But if they at school have to have like one-on-one aid time, I would say that probably wouldn't be a good fit for our camp. But if they have other neurodivergent things, we would definitely want to talk to you about that. So, and like I said, take it kind of on a case by case basis for each individual camper. So.
Eleni's still asking, I don't see any openings for next summer, so when will those be posted? We said
sometime soon. Yeah, I like I said, I just opened the formal applications today, so I just haven't had time to update that job openings. But I will add it to my to-do list, and I will try and update that as soon as possible. So I appreciate the enthusiasm. Love to see that. So.
From Kylie, what is the highest temperature you have ever got in camp?
I don't upper 90s. Like I think in Prescott it was maybe in like the low 100s, but we're higher than Prescott, so I don't know if we've ever clocked something in camp that high.
I don't think I've seen something that high in camp.
But 90s, I would say upper 90s would be my guess. Yeah.
Typically followed by rainstorm later on.
Yeah, later later that day usually.
Jill is asking about horses again. Is Rosa going to be there?
Don't know yet. Yeah, don't know yet.
From Sarah Bear, buses or parent drop-off and pickup? What's best option for first-time kids?
Yes. So all campers will be dropped off at camp. So, everybody's going to be dropped off at camp. Usually it's the parents, but sometimes grandparents, aunts and uncles, maybe their friend that they're coming to camp with, that camper's parents drop them off. Doesn't really matter who, but they are driven to camp and dropped off at camp. And then on departure day, they can be picked up by their family or take the bus down to Phoenix. So we have, amongst many of the forms that you'll fill out, will be like a travel form and how you're getting, who's picking up the camper at camp, or if they're going to take the bus or if they're going to do car pickup. So you sign up when you fill out that travel form. There is an associated charge. I think last year it was $40 each way, or
40 sounds
per
right.
camper. So if you wanted to ride the bus, it was $40 added to your store account, which I can talk about in a little bit. And so then the bus picks them up at camp and then takes them to Phoenix. There's a Walmart it's Tatum and Bell in North Phoenix. There's a Walmart parking lot, and that's where they drop off. So the bus is an option for departure day. I would still say most people still do car pickup. So everybody does car drop off. Most people still do car pickup because the kids like to show you, around and show you where their activities were and stuff like that. And we do a light brunch kind of a thing. And it's just a nice morning up at camp. So, so that's travel. And then store account. So we have a very small on-site camp store. It's just for essentials. So camper loses their toothbrush, or they run out of toothpaste, or they need more shampoo, or they want to buy stamps or something. We have a small store that they can purchase things. It's just at cost. And so if they buy anything, we put that on their store account, and then we send the statement to you after the summer, and then just charge whatever credit card we have on file. You don't send them to camp with money, or you don't put down a store account deposit. It's we keep track of it. We'll send you the statement and then go from there. So, the travel, fee would go on there. We cover the first $15-ish of laundry for 2-week campers. So if they go beyond that, it's weighed per pound, they have a price per pound. So if they go beyond that first $15, then we would add that to their store account. If they want to do tie-dye in handcrafts, they want to make more than more than just one shirt or whatever, then we would potentially add that to their store account as well. So but for the most part, it's they needed a hairbrush, or they needed some more sunscreen, and it's $2 or something like that we put onto their store account. So yeah, I know that wasn't a question, but I did mention store account, so I wanted to just cover that.
I think we'll make these our last two.
Cool.
From Janelle, what lake do you swim at?
So we don't swim in the lake, but we have a regular swimming pool.
Let me repeat that question. Sorry, my mic was dead. From Janelle, what lake do you swim at?
Yes. So we don't swim in a lake. We have our swimming pool in the middle of camp. It's just a basic. I think the deepest is 5 feet in the middle. So that's where they do their swimming, and then we have a lake. Arizonans would call it a lake. Anyone from the Midwest would call it a pond. But we have a small lake pond on the property that we canoe in. So we don't swim in it, but we canoe on it, and we do stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking as well on the lake, but we don't swim in the lake ever.
And then this is our last question for the night. What time is lights out for younger/older campers, and can you request to be with another counselor?
That's a great question. So all campers, lights out is at 9 p.m. So we'll do like an all camp evening program after dinner. So that's when we do the round dance or the rendezvous that I mentioned before, or talent show or carnival or something like that. Depends on what night of the session we're at. And that usually will go till about 8 o'clock, and then the campers will go back and get ready for bed, and then we do some sort of kind of cabin closing thing, talk about our day and, revisit the day and everything, and visit with our fellow cabin mates, and then the campers go to bed at 9 o'clock. And then they wake up at 7, so lots of sleep, and they'll need it. And then we also have a siesta rest hour in the middle of the day after lunch, kind of in like the warmest part of the day. Everyone goes back to the cabin and has some quiet time in the cabin. So, was there a second part of that question? Nope. I covered it. Okay.
Requesting to be with.
Oh, and if you want to request to be with a certain counselor, if that counselor is coming back, you can definitely indicate on.
I think this is a counselor requesting to be with a counselor.
Gotcha. If you're a counselor wanting to be with a certain counselor, we do our best to accommodate that. For counselors, we do take into account their like age group requests. So if they want to be with the younger kids or with the older kids, we try our best to make that happen. And same thing kind of goes with, a co-counselor situation. It's not a guarantee, but if we can make it work, we'll do our best to do that. So yeah, but not all, I would say most cabins do not have a second counselor. Only some cabins have a second counselor. Maybe a third of the cabins have a co-counselor. So it would mean being in an older cabin and potentially being with another counselor that you want to be with. All right.
The lights out question?
And I did answer the lights out question. So I think on the slide, I'm not really sure where you are on the slides, but we have some upcoming events. So we have our in-person roundup. So it's kind of like tonight, but it's going to be actually in person, like we'll be down in Scottsdale doing this kind of same roundup presentation. We don't have dates for that yet, but it will be sometime in February, probably towards the end of the month. But as soon as we have those dates locked in, we will send out an email blast to everybody. The in-person roundup is very similar to this one, but you get to meet us in person. We'll have more merch and more prizes. It's more of a reward because you have to actually come and be present at the roundup. So it's also potential to win money off of camp. So we have some like tuition credits that we do a drawing for. So, but yeah, we'll be sending out all that information in the coming weeks as soon as we've nailed down the specific date of when that roundup's going to happen. But we are planning on it being kind of end of February. And then for all of you that are already signed up for camp or thinking about signing up for camp, first cancellation deadline is coming up on Friday, March 1st. So that is when the initial deposit and then the secondary deposit becomes non-refundable. Up until that point, if you cancel, it's just a $100 cancellation fee. On and after March 1st, it's the entire deposit. So you pay an initial deposit when you sign up, and then you'll pay a secondary deposit on March 1st, and then that becomes non-refundable. Final cancellation deadline is May 1st, and that's where the entire tuition becomes non-refundable. So just keeping those in mind. And then our annual open house event will be Saturday, May 18th. It's where folks can come up and see camp. It's more than just like a regular camp tour. There's tours going on, but we'll have like the zip line going, and we'll provide lunch and do same kind of big prize drawings and stuff like that. So it's more of like a event, but we'll be sending out that information and details in the spring. So just want to make sure you know about that. And then we're going to do our last drawing for either a water bottle or a camp cup. So it's like a metal cup or a plastic water bottle, but with the FPC stuff. So, Eldon, who wins our last prize for tonight?
All right, this is the big one. Spinning that wheel once again. Everybody's got their fingers crossed. Coming down to it. Oh, just squeaked it out. Jax Kidder.
All right, Jax. Congratulations. So, Jax, Abigail, and I can't remember the last one.
Georgia.
So Georgia, Abigail, and Jax. Be sure to send an email to us, info@friendlypines, or call us tomorrow, and so we can get the right size or the right item that you want, and a good address to send it to you, and we'll get that in the mail as soon as we can. So last thing, just how to get in touch, our website, our email, contact information. Also, you can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok as well. So feel free to follow us there. And as always, if you have any questions, of course, reach out to us. We're in the office Monday through Friday, normal business hours. So, anytime if you want to schedule a call and ask all the questions you didn't want to ask tonight, you're more than welcome to do that. Or just shoot us a one-off email question. Happy to answer any questions, but we're all here to make the transition into camp as smooth and easy as possible for everybody. And so questions about campers, questions about staff, we can all help with that. So really just want to say thank you all for spending your Thursday evening with us. Hope you got your questions answered, and we are looking forward to having everybody join us this coming summer. And we're really excited for summer 2024. So thank you so much for sticking around, and have a good rest of your night. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.